Shroud University, this is Russ Brial bringing you another discussion on the Shroud of Turin, the greatest mystery of the known world.
Back to the Shroud. 1978, 40 American scientists traveled to Turin, Italy. They would have access, hands-on access to study the Shroud for 5 days continuously, 122 hours. This is a planning session at the beginning of the 5 days, and they brought with them a steel examination table that they'll attach the Shroud to the table and by magnets. And here you see the Shroud laid out on the table, and they're beginning. And so they did all kinds of tests: X-ray radiography, spectroscopy, infrared thermography, particle analysis, blood analysis, all kinds of stuff. And in 3 years of analyzing all the data, this is the official result of the Shroud of Turin Research Project. There are no chemical or physical methods known which can account for the totality of the image. Nor can any combination of physical, chemical, biological, or medical circumstances explain the image adequately. We can conclude for now that the Shroud image is that of a real human form of a scourged, crucified man. It is not the product of an artist. The blood stains are composed of hemoglobin and give positive tests for serum albumin. Now, that's a pretty strong statement, saying it's not the work of an artist and the blood appears to be real blood. So now we come back to the main question: what caused the image? Is it the work of an artist? Well, STURP scientists say no, it's not. But what if it is? What if it is the work of an artist? How is it done? Who did it? So if you look underneath the Shroud, you'll notice several things. You'll notice the blood which soaks all the way through the Shroud. You'll notice the burns which burn all the way through the Shroud. You'll notice the water stains which stain all the way through the Shroud. But you will not see the image of the man when you look underneath that cloth. The image of the man appears only on the top 5/1000ths of an inch, the top 2 microfibers, not threads, microfibers of the linen. In fact, it's so superficial that if you were to take a razor blade and shave the surface of the cloth, the image would disappear. And so but what you're seeing here then is that we have an image that appears only on the inside surface of the cloth, the side facing the body. Now, when you look at microscopy, on your left is rust left from an old tack, magnified 32 times, so the thread looks like bricks here. And you can clearly see the rust clinging to the threads and the fibers. On the right are charred threads from one of the burns. Looking on your left, you'll see the blood image, and you clearly see the blood soaking through and clinging to all the threads and the fibers. And on your right is one of the darkest parts of the Shroud image from the tip of the nose, and you really can't tell that anything is even there. And one of the most important discoveries of the Shroud project is that there's no significant trace of any kind of paint, ink, dye, pigmentation, stain. There's nothing on the Shroud that was used by an artist to produce this image. Now, you clearly see the image. There it is on the left. The image is there, but there's no substances on the cloth to account for the image. So why does the image show up? Because from a chemical standpoint, there is a razor thin, I'm talking about less than 1/100th of the diameter of a human hair, okay? A thin layer of carbohydrates, sugar compound carbohydrates, that is just attached itself to all the threads and the fibers. This is just a natural process of the way flax was prepared in ancient times. Something has interacted with this carbohydrate layer, but only in those areas immediately surrounding a body. Well, that's what we have. It's a discoloration of the cloth, something interacting with this carbohydrate layer. So now, on your right is what's called transmitted light photography. Now they took the Shroud, removed it from the stainless from the steel table, and are lighting it from behind, and to kind of see what you see and what you don't see when you look at transmitted light. Now, clearly, you can see the blood on the arms. You see the nail wound in the wrist, blood on this arm. You see the side wound, the blood flowing down from it. You see a water stain here. You see the water stain here. The outline of those water stains is calcium deposit. But now you see the blood down here by the feet. But where's the image? Where's the image of the man? If the Shroud image was the result of substances applied to the cloth, you would see it here just the same way you see the blood, just the same way you see the water stains. But you don't, because there are no substances on the cloth to account for the image. The beginning of the scientific investigation of the shroud really began over 100 years ago in 1898 when it was photographed for the very first time. The image on your left is the image as it appears on the cloth itself, but the image on your right is the image as it appears in a photographic negative, and there's just a transformation here that really just doesn't make any sense. Because you see, when you look at a photo negative, hold it up to the light, you can't really make out any detail. You have to develop it. So why do we have so much more detail? Why is the image in a photo negative so much clearer, so much lifelike, so much more detail? The only explanation for this is that the image that is on the cloth itself, on the left, must be a negative image. Therefore, what you get in a photo negative is a positive image. And as the editors of National Geographic said, how could a medieval artist have produced a negative image, and why would he even bother to do so at least 600 years before the invention of photography? Photography was invented in 1830. When you look at the full frontal image in the photo negative, it's really an astonishing image. And you say to yourself, at least I do, I say, that could be. That could be. Could the blood be just paint? What evidence is there to prove that the blood on the shroud is actual blood? In fact, a couple blood chemists did some excellent work on this, very, very well-regarded blood chemists. Blood stains test positive for 13 different blood components, including heme, bilirubin, bile, and so blood is also AB positive with the evidence of human DNA. In fact, Dr. Alan Adler, one of the blood chemists on the team, he's Jewish, and he writes this: the blood marks seen on the shroud are consistent with a contact transfer to the cloth of blood clot exudates that would have resulted from major wounds inflicted on a man who died upright as a result of crucifixion. So, is it an artwork? Who was the artist? How did he do it? Why nothing else to his credit? Why can't we replicate it today? Brief history. There appears to be a cloth with an image on it that arrived in Edessa sometime around the 1st century. Not exactly sure when. This cloth later becomes known as the image of Edessa. And it is described as, quote, the true likeness of Christ not made by human hands. It becomes the most holy of all relics of all Byzantine and Orthodox Christianity. And it is in Edessa for 900 years, until 944 when it moves to Constantinople. And it disappears from Constantinople in 1204 during the Fourth Crusade. And the latest historical research shows that the shroud was then probably taken to Athens for a while, and then to Besançon, France, and ultimately arrives in Loire, France, and was exhibited in France in 1353. It moves to Chambéry in 1450, where in 1532 it got in the big fire, and in 1578 moves to Turin, where it has been ever since. So we have a very good, solid history taking us all the way back to 6th century in Edessa. Before 6th century, we've got some interesting clues, legends, folklore, and other things that would indicate, probably its origination in Israel, but it's not 100% solid. The question is carbon dating the end of the road?